everyone. So today we're going to be turning a ladder map into a zombie maps. This has been a new uh, project I've been doing with zombie maps I make, just because there's so many good ladder maps out there that, if with a little bit of tweaking, can turn into a really good zombie map. And also, there's a real interest, and also it's also a lot of fun to kind of play zombie maps on ladder maps, because ladder maps kind of have a different feel than regular zombie maps, because they have a lot more mineral patches and a lot more kind of progression, and are a lot more dynamic than your typical zombie map, which tends to be pretty straightforward. Anyways, if you've played zombies for a lot, and or have played zombies for a while and are familiar with zombie maps, this should be really interesting and fun for you to kind of see how to kind of turn a ladder map into a zombie map. And yeah, I hope you get a chance to hop online and check this map out. This map is Purity and Industry, and it was originally made by someone named Super Roman. And so thank you and shout out to them for this map, as we now turn it into a zombie map. So let's get started with kind of looking at the zombie, looking at the map kind of overall. You'll have to excuse these grids everywhere. This is just the editor and how it kind of looks at the map. So already I can see that this area right here is probably going to be the best place to start the zombie spawn. And I can see here that these areas are probably going to be ideal for zombie defense. So let's yeah, start playing around with designs here, and see if we can come up with something. You'll notice that I have the mirror feature on for the editor. So as I kind of edit the bottom, I can also, or excuse me, the right side, I can also be editing the left side. So yeah, so I think for starters, I definitely want to maybe clear all this out, because this is what I'm going to turn into kind of the main um, passageway for the zombie pathing. So let's clear that out. Get rid of um, kind of all these rocks and different doodads. And let's also clean up the pathing here. And yeah, so whoops, as we can see here, we have a nice kind of clear pathway for where the zombies could come. And because of how zombies attack, they follow the path of least resistance. So most of them are going to come through these alleyways up into to each side of the base. And so let's now maybe expand this a little bit, because as you can see, this is pretty wide open space, and we want this player here to be able to kind of defend the zombies as they're coming in. So what we're going to do is we're going to expand this out and bring it um, yeah, to right about there, and then kind of bring it out to here. So this kind of creates a nice plateau for um, being able to kind of defend the zombies as they kind of roll in to each team's base. So there we go. And we want to kind of keep the feel of the ladder map, which has this nice kind of metal um, trimming to it. So we're going to kind of re-add that, And as you can tell, the cliff face is not uh, earthy. It's actually kind of robotic and kind of industrial. So we want to find the right cliff type here, and we're gonna just put that there, and yeah, and so now we have kind of a really nice um, outcropping for where this player can kind of engage the zombies, and and we're getting closer to making it a zombie map. So now usually maps don't have a lot of straight edges. Good ladder maps don't have a lot of straight edges. They have typically the maps typically have a lot of kind of dynamic um, geometric lines and shapes. So we kind of want to recreate that a little bit and bring back some of those geometric lines and geometric shapes. So let's do that. It looks like this design uses these doodad trimmings to kind of create like a darkened trim around the edge, which is very common in ladder maps. Typically, they use these doodads to kind of create trims around the bases. You can kind of see it here as well. See it here as well. It just makes the map feel kind of more real. So yeah, so we got that. So that looks great. So now we kind of want to think about other zombie defense, because here's the zombies always follow the path of least resistance like water. So if they're spawning here, then they're most likely going to hug this cliff area and then come in through the base. And we want the zombies to kind of behave that way, so we need to kind of think through this expo, which I think would do a lot better as a high ground expo. So we're just going to delete some of these doodads. Gonna get rid of these. Now this is a really cool feature in map building. You can actually hide the terrain and then put a doodad over it, so it looks like a custom-made bridge. When in actuality, it's actually there's actually ground here. You can just hide it, and that's what they've done here. They've so not sure if that's a doodad. It looks like a doodad, but for some reason I can't select it. So oh wait, there it is. So anyways, now we kind of got all that out of the way, and we got this terrain revealed again, and now we're going to turn this into a high ground base that players can actually attack the zombies from. But we need to be aware of the fact that this is already a level 2 plateau. This is level 1, 2, and then 3. 3 levels is typically what most ladder maps use. You can technically go up to level 13 in zombie maps, but any kind of map. But typically, when you're dealing with the high-end ladder map, you're not going up higher than usually 3, and that's the case here. So, but we want to do 3 because we're going to be connecting it to this high ground area. So, oh, looks like our doodad showed itself. Let's see if we can select it now. Yes, we can. It's actually a pretty cool doodad. Might want to save that. So let's change its height, because right now it's at a negative height. So every time I tried to move it, it would just fall into the ground. So let's play around with this base. yeah, so let's see how it looks if I do this. So let's do up and down view, which allows us to really get close here to the edge. I think I need to clean up all these doodads around here. And I'm going to clean up this expo as well. Clean up this pathing also. Certain doodads don't have footprints, so you have to add pathing around them so that players can't move through them and it doesn't break the illusion of the doodad being a doodad. It makes it feel like it's part of the map and it's a real structure. So, all right. So let's maybe bring this back a little bit so that it's flush with this crevice here. Looks like I missed a little bit of invisible terrain, so let's just reveal that. And let's get rid of these doodads as well. Okay, so starting to look pretty good. So we want this to connect here as a level 3 expo. So it's going to be flush with this. So let's bring it back. Get rid of these doodads. Alright, so got ourselves a flush expo. Yep, looks good. Okay, so let's see how that looks. Yeah, so the zombies are gonna path along here, kind of hit here, but as you can see, we're still not really very close to that lane. So we actually want to maybe bring it out even more. So let's get rid of all those doodads. Get rid of these pathing here. And we're going to bring it out maybe a couple more levels. There we go. That's that's what we need. So now it's now we have ourselves a nice kind of narrow walkway where both players can kind of participate in defense. And by the way, I think the best ways to spawn players would be to turn this to a spawn spot, this to a spawn spot, and this to a spawn spot. And the reason I'm thinking of that is because this spawn spot allows someone to be involved in zombie defense and allows them to have kind of a back area to fight and expo into. This area allows the player to move up into this natural and defend zombies and also have access to this natural. And then this player here is very much on offense as they scoot across the chasm to attack their opponent and fight over this island expo. So let's keep cleaning this up. A lot of map conversions just have to do with basically cleaning up, doodads and cleaning up texture sets and stuff of that nature. So let's add our steps here. That looks really good. Let's borrow this set of stairs here and bring it over. And then let's turn it sideways. This is where you have to know your geometry. So 315 is basically a 45-degree angle facing southeast. So you learn all these little numbers: 315, 90, 45, etc., etc. So that looks good. All right. So yeah, so now we got a great little choke point here where players can participate in defense. And we got a little bit of land here, so let's kind of get rid of that. I'm using the white texture set cliff colors, so that's why you're seeing that white. You just got to select between the right one. In fact, I kind of like the white, so I think maybe I'll make this white. Kind of helps it pop. One thing about making zombie maps that a lot of people don't realize, and this is for ladder map conversions or just regular ladder maps, is that visualization is really good and really important. So if you're making zombie maps and they don't have a lot of color, and nothing really pops, you're going to find that players tend to kind of get confused with your map because there's not a good sense of like, well, what's important, what kind of stands out to the human eye. So you kind of really want to be considerate of that kind of stuff. So this white kind of makes it pop. So as you can see over here, by the way, it's a real mess, but that's just because I'm mirroring this side, but these are whole sets. There's a whole other set of doodads, so the doodads don't delete when I delete them over here. So what I'll do is I'll build this out and then go over there and kind of change it and fix it. So, but let's make that kind of a soft corner. Again, giving it kind of that more natural feel. Sharp edges, typically don't feel very natural on high-end ladder maps. All right, so that looks really good. So that's a really good kind of crevice there and really good alleyway. So now we just kind of want to start cleaning up a bunch of stuff. So let's go over here and clean up a bunch of this stuff as well. Get these rocks out of the way. That should be okay. I don't think that should be a problem. Has a nice feel to it. Okay, so that doodad's connected to the other doodad, so I want to be careful with that. Get rid of all these. Get rid of those mineral patches down there. Make sure nothing else is hiding down there. So at some point I'm going to have to turn off mirroring and kind of do all this manually. But that's just the nature of converting a map. So at this point you can just kind of watch or skip ahead, as I'm just going to now kind of clean this up and make it match the ground. So here we see kind of a larger green patch in the middle, which kind of symbolizes the natural earthy patch, as heavier grass and nature tends to grow thicker in the middle and then kind of softer along the edges. So that's what the map creator is kind of mimicking here. So kind of lower, softer grass going along the edges, and thicker, kind of deeper grass growing kind of along the middle. So there we go. We've kind of replicated that pretty well. That looks pretty natural. Now we have to kind of do it here as well. So this is gonna be kind of interesting because the brown rock can kind of help players get a sense of like where maybe they need to defend. So I'm just gonna do a real solid trim here and then kind of work backwards to make it a bit softer and more kind of natural looking. So we have that, and then we kind of want to do the softer grass. Then we kind of want to bring in the corners. Then we kind of want to bring it back. Alright, so there we go. We got kind of a very obvious, helpful kind of defensive expo here. Yeah, and I kind of like that kind of an earthy high ground spot to kind of defend on. And obviously it doesn't have very many doodads on it, and that's just because this area is going to be where players do a lot of the zombie defense. So doodads are nice, but as you can see, they kind of block the edges here. That makes it tough for like lining up cannons or turrets or things like that. So, okay, so yeah, so now let's start cleaning up other doodads, things that maybe we don't like or don't really need. I don't really think we need any of those doodads. Definitely want this ramp to be bigger. Ladder maps tend to make really small ramps so that races like Terran and Protoss can fight against Zerglings, but with zombies, especially in certain bases, it's difficult to rush, if not impossible. So you really just want the ramp to be bigger so players can get out of their base and move armies around a bit more easily. So that's what we're going to do here. This gives the player, if they're like Terran, for instance, some more room to kind of move out and run around in. And then we're going to kind of mimic this by kind of copying, or should I say, just kind of moving this, yeah, to like there. There we go. So now it looks very much mimicked. In the same style that the original map maker was going for, so it looks clean, looks like it's supposed to connect like that. We'll do the same over here. We don't necessarily need it to wrap around here unless you want to go through all that effort when you're making your map. I don't feel the need to do that. I just needed to kind of end, proportionally. Maybe I'll have it end right about here. If you're trying to line something up, by the way, holding down shift is a really great way to do that, because it allows you to get it out of lock mode, which means that it's obligated to move to a certain set of positions, and puts it into kind of like free edit mode. So now I can kind of end it there and clean up the textiles, color it in right. So there you go. Now it looks like it's supposed to end there. And do the same thing over here. I'll move this over just a smidge. So it kind of ends here. And then I take one of these little speckled doodads and place it there where it looks kind of natural. And then do the same thing. Just kind of color in so it blends. And there we go. Got ourselves a clean kind of cliff face. Now these pipings are kind of cool. Maybe kind of sticking them there would be kind of fun. So let's see if we can scoot them in. They might need to have their height brought down. So let's well, that's actually not bad. So we'll just leave that there. Adds a little bit of texture to the cliff face. So it doesn't look so empty. And then we'll just make sure that cliff is has all the right trimming. Move some of these bushes and rocks off the cliff since we expanded it. Get rid of some of this pathing mess. And yeah, that looks pretty good. So now we just need to kind of add expos and move stuff around. For instance, I'm going to move this back. That's a lot of dead space. And no one's going to be cruising around back here anyways. So the player doesn't really need to get behind their mineral line. But we want these doodads to match up though, so let's not lose these nice designed features, which make the map feel nice. Now we have to go into footprint mode because we want this doodad to match the starting position. So there we go. It's going to match the starting position. I don't think that doodad's necessary, so we can get that out. So it kind of lines up nicely. So now when the player starts, he gets 4 or 5 extra little pieces of space, little blocks of space to build stuff in. And this is a real nice base, allows him to move, he or she to move up or down. Not sure if that's necessary, that doodad. I think maybe I'll get rid of that and give that space back to the player. I think there was another one down here. Yeah, that's not really necessary. We'll give that back to the player as well. Okay. The space looks good. Just remove these advertisements, which they put on maps for GSL and stuff like that. So these slow zones are unnecessary. Zombie maps tend to be scrappy and more fast-paced, so slow zones are rarely used, and most zombie players don't really enjoy them. On this ladder map, they're designed to punish air rushes and discourage kind of using air. So, but in our case, we want to encourage air. So we got a Xel'Naga Tower here. Doesn't need to be here because that's where the zombies are going to spawn. But I think a really fun place to have it would be to have it down here, where you might have some action occurring here in the back. So let's maybe get rid of that. And yeah, put the Xel'Naga Tower here. So what you'll have now is a really great offensive Xel'Naga Tower that if you can capture will allow you to see your enemy's bases, so you can kind of make successful advances into their bases. So okay, so yeah, this side of the map is looking really good. I'll obviously clean that up a little bit, and yeah. So anyways, these are the basics of how to make a ladder map to zombie map conversion. Obviously the final product will be a lot different as I kind of just move stuff around. Like for instance, this could be moved around a lot as well, and all this kind of needs to be cleaned up. I'll basically do this side exactly what I did this side, but yeah, for the most part, this is a really great zombie map conversion, and I'm excited to see this played online. The map, in honor of its original name, will be called Earth and Light. This original map was called Purity and Industry, but I like Earth and Light because you can have a light side over here, you can have an earthy side over here. So, yeah, hope you enjoyed this ladder map conversion, and I'll see you next time for some other zombie map creating tutorials.